Hey Mike, thanks for providing such a thorough answer to the questions I raised. This video is sort of going to be like a response to your response to my response. I hope this doesn't seem too excessive. There's a few things that I had forgotten to mention in my previous video that I really wanted to share. On top of that, there are a few things that you brought up in your response that I wanted to talk about, so I guess here it is. If you're looking for more contemporary research to substantiate your theory, I found this website called the Private Education Research Initiative. Basically what they do is they host different research and documentaries on the topic of privatized education. And basically they just try to explore, what ways has it manifested itself, why it exists where it does, and what the benefits and social costs are. I think it could be a really valuable resource to you given your interest. I've included a link below to a video they hosted about the Chilean school system and the student movement that's going on down there, and I think you might find it interesting. On to your claim that private schools would probably go away under your system, I'm not sure that's true, at least not for the reasons that you give. There already is a pretty significant disincentive for people to send their kids to private school, and that is everyone who pays taxes, regardless of whether or not they have a child in the public school system, part of their taxes go towards paying for that system. The fact that people are willing to pay for private school tuitions when they already pay for public education is a sign that, there's more going on here. It's not simply just people looking for the greatest deal they can get. And I think that the fact that parents will have a lot more expendable income under your system if they're not paying for public schools through taxes, it might lead many to seek private schools for some of the reasons I listed in the previous video. Also, people might be seeking a more classical education experience for their children, something that's really structured, thorough, and formal. So, just something to think about. One thing I forgot to bring up in my previous video that I'm really kicking myself for not including, what about all the research that takes place at a university level? What about all that stuff that drives innovation, and provides all these societal benefits, but doesn't necessarily promise any kind of monetary gain for the researchers themselves or the organization that hosts them? Where would this kind of research take place if in your system, if the universities are abolished? Now, I know crowdfunding might be able to fill the gap a little bit with sites like Kickstarter hosting more and more scientific research initiatives, but at the same time I feel like that'll cause researchers to have to pander to kind of the interests of people on the internet, which, as we're all aware, aren't always consistent with, scientific development and progress. I feel like if we turn to a system where Kickstarter is the only place where research funding comes from, we'll see a lot more projects based on, jetpacks and kittens and, gift research, I don't know. Also, I talked to my parents and it turns out both of them have some experience with industry side licensing programs and education programs and things like that. My dad used to work for the Merchant Marine for a number of years, and in order to qualify to work on ships, he needed to go through a trade school. Now, the interesting thing about this trade school, and apparently about many trade schools, is that they're not set up by the employers usually. They're set up by the unions that represent the laborers. I'm sure you're aware that unions often have very different priorities than employers do. And I think it'd be interesting to think about what implications that has in your system, especially if many of these trade schools might be set up and operated by unions. My mom, on the other hand, she works for this company called FINRA, and I'm not 100% clear on what they do or what she does, but the way she's explained it to me is that they're basically like a private version of the SEC. They provide, regulatory and investigative services for the financial industry. One of the other services they provide is they do the kind of licensing exams that certain professionals in the industry need to take in order to practice legally, like brokers and people like that. And what's interesting about these exams is you don't actually need a degree to qualify to take them. You only need to work in the industry. But it's sort of a catch-22 from this perspective, because in order to fill the kind of jobs that require this kind of licensing, employers definitely prefer people with some kind of degree. It's just something to think about, another one of those industry-side education systems that could easily be reworked into your system. But again, I hope this all didn't seem too excessive, and thanks for kind of engaging in this discussion with me, and keep engaging with these questions. I really look forward to seeing what else you come up with. Alright, I guess I'll see you around.